It's the old world. Central Europe 1100 years ago. A country is born. 7 Magyar chieftains settled their tribes in a fertile mountain valley. It was the birth of the Hungarian nation, the 7 tribes. The 7 pinnacles of light, the spirit of Hungary, whose influence has been felt worldwide, but nowhere more than in America.
Major Hungarian migration to the United States is counted from about 1880 on. Those who came to improve their economic worth, most of them from the rural community.
Although many of the nearly 2 million Hungarians who eventually came to Ellis Island in New York Harbor were from small villages in the country, so too were those from Italy, Poland, Ireland, virtually every major country of Europe, to become a part of the American dream.
The second wave of Hungarian immigrants came before, during, and just after World War II. They were political refugees, and they were penniless. But what they brought with them were their talent, their education, and their will to succeed.
The next large group of Hungarians fled communism after the defeat of the 1956 revolution.
Budapest, a city under siege, enemy troops, gunfire, the bravery of freedom fighters, the refusal to submit, lives lost, buildings destroyed, tanks and even more firepower. A city and a country overwhelmed for now, but never the people.
They escaped political oppression to seek liberty on these shores.
Colonial America, the War of Independence, a period Hungarians could appreciate as they had seen so many invaders. So it was no surprise that Colonel Michael de Fabrizi Kovács fought in the American Revolution, and that the Citadel many years later unveiled a plaque in his honor for revolutionary heroes at Valley Forge. Kovács, who was killed in the siege of Charleston, created what the British called the best cavalry the rebels ever had. It was he who said golden freedom cannot be purchased with yellow gold. More than 1,000 Hungarian officers joined Lincoln during the Civil War, and leading a small cavalry unit, Colonel Charles Zagonyi led the attack on Springfield, Missouri, routing the enemy. Others in John Fremont's Western Army were General Alexander Ashboth and Major General Julius Samvold. And Louis Kossuth, a Hungarian war hero, became a hero of Americans in his many speeches for democracy. Hungarian immigrants led the way with that entrepreneurial spirit and rugged individualism. Joseph Pulitzer, born in Mako, the onion capital of Hungary, founded the St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper and the Pulitzer Publishing Company. He endowed the famous Pulitzer Prize, which most serious journalists hoped to win, and helped establish the Graduate School of Journalism at Columbia University. Hungarian Ágoston Haraszti is generally thought of as the father of California viticulture. In 1968, Dr. Andrew Grove founded the Intel Corporation, making California the leader in semiconductors. A typical example of that Hungarian drive is cosmetics tycoon Estée Lauder, who started out in Queens, New York, whipping up face creams from a secret recipe brought here by her uncle from Hungary. There's Judith Lieber.
I was born in Hungary and I did my apprenticeship in Budapest. Fine art of making expensive products was a tradition in Eastern Europe.
Adrienne Vittadini began her career by designing sportswear and now sunglasses, perfume, and home furnishings.
Sophisticated sportswear, but with ease. They alter my mood. They make me happy. Or I get so many compliments when I wear your clothes.
Laszlo Tauber is now a Washington, D.C.-based philanthropist, surgeon, and real estate magnate. Tauber's name appears annually as one of the Forbes 400 wealthiest. Do you know who invented the ballpoint pen? He's Ladislav Biro. And one of the most exasperating toys in the world, Rubik's Cube, was invented by a Hungarian, Erno Rubik. And financier, philanthropist, George Soros.
The expression billionaire is appropriate.
Art takes many forms, and with his creation of op art, Victor Vasarely of Pest, Hungary, became a major influence in the New York art movement of the 60s. And there's more.
In the field of fine arts, the greatest contributions were made by the multifaceted genius László Moholy Nagy, the Bauhaus master who, together with his colleague György Kepes, established the Chicago Institute of Design.
Experimentalist, constructivist, multimedia pioneer,
The industrial designer and architect Marcel Breuer designed the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York City. A short list of the most important photographers in the world includes many Hungarians, such as the artist André Kertész, the fashion photographer Martin Munkácsy, and the photojournalist Robert Capa, whose brother, Cornel Capa, established the International Center of Photography in New York City.
In the world of Hungarian-American athletes, the most famous of them all is Joe Namath. From a Pennsylvania upbringing, he became Broadway Joe and successfully predicted a victory for his team, the New York Jets, in the Super Bowl. Others who went on to stardom were the kicking Gogolak brothers, Pete and Charlie, running back Larry Zonka, and Don Shula, the winningest coach in NFL history. They represented the Miami Dolphins, the New York Giants, Washington Redskins, and the Buffalo Bills. Not to be outdone was fellow Hungarian-American coach Joseph Nagy, who had golden moments with his U.S. swimming team in Atlanta, and who himself had won gold as a swimmer for Hungary in Barcelona. Another winner of Olympic gold is Karch, known as the King of Volleyball. In golf, Julius BOROS is among the all-time tournament and money-winning champions and a member of the PGA Hall of Fame. And the first ever Olympic gold medal for the U.S. in equestrian competition was coached by the legendary Bertalan de Nemeth. The influence of Hungarian writers in America is formidable. Ferenc Molnar wrote many Broadway hits, including the plays The Thing and Lilium, which served as the basis for the musical Carousel by Rodgers and Hammerstein. He also wrote The Swan, which became a movie about a princess, starring a future princess, Grace of Monaco. Elie Wiesel, winner of the 1986 Nobel Peace Prize, Hungarian-born, is one of the leading intellectuals of this age. Susan Faludi is the best-selling feminist author of Backlash. Ladislas Farago wrote 20 bestsellers, including Patton, which became an Oscar winner for George C. Scott. Screenwriters include Melchior Lengyel for Ninochka with Greta Garbo. More recently, Joe Esterhaus is among the highest paid of the screenwriters. His words, among other things, made Sharon Stone famous in Basic Instinct. On the more academic side, John Lukács authored The Philadelphians and Budapest 1900. And Mihai Csikszentmihalyi wrote the oft-quoted Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience.
America has become home to thousands of Hungarians in the past 100 years. That so many from a country about the size of Indiana have contributed so much to American life and culture is nothing short of phenomenal. The wealth of talented musicians is probably due to schools such as the Franz Liszt Academy in Budapest and the Zoltán Kodály Academy in Kecskemét. Béla Bartók, a giant of 20th century music, whose works really weren't recognized until after his death in New York in 1945. Bartók once traveled with another famous Hungarian composer, Zoltán Kodály, collecting the folk melodies of Hungary and Transylvania. Among his most famous works, the one-act opera Bluebeard's Castle. EMERICH KALMAN came to the United States in 1940 and left many immortal melodies from such shows as Countess Maritza. SIGMUND ROMBERG, whose career took off soon after arriving in America, composed many works for the stage, including the music from The Student Prince. Miklos Rózsa scored the music for films such as Spellbound. There also were great conductors, including Sir Georg Scholti of the Chicago Symphony, considered among the greatest of the age. In the early days of Hollywood, if cars sported a bumper sticker reading, "Honk if you're Hungarian," the noise could have been overwhelming. Hungarians were among the biggest producers and directors in movies. The first head of Paramount Pictures was Adolf Zukor. Zukor, Hungarian-born, found early success after opening a dozen Nickelodeon houses and starting Loews Enterprises. And DARRYL F. ZANUCK headed 20th Century Fox Studios. Joe Pasternak, for more than 30 years, one of the most important producers at MGM. Michael Curtis directed Casablanca with Bogey and Bergman. George Cukor, he helmed most of the Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn films. André de Toth directed Gary Cooper in Springfield Rifle. Alexander Korda, a producer and director responsible for a number of hit movies such as The Thief of Baghdad. George Pal won 6 Oscars with films he produced and directed and was famous for the stunning special effects for When Worlds Collide and The Lost Continent. Pal was also considered the second best animator in Hollywood. Then there are the actors, all or half Hungarian. There once was a saying in Hollywood, it's not enough to be Hungarian, you've got to have talent too.
In the scientific fields, Hungarians in America have changed the world. Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, was also a member of the White House Science Council. Leo Szilard, who helped to develop the atom bomb, was highly praised by Einstein in a letter to President Roosevelt. Later, he became a strong peace activist. Eugene Wigner won a Nobel Prize for his contributions to the theory of the atomic nucleus. George Hevesy was hailed for his work with radioactive isotopes. Zoltan Bai was the first to send radar signals to the moon. John von Neumann was the father of computer sciences, about whom Teller said, he knew everything about everything. Peter Goldmark headed CBS Laboratories, which developed the LP record and color television. So far, a total of 14 Hungarian Americans have won Nobel Prizes, including the latest two, in 1994, George Olah for hydrocarbon research and John Harsanyi for his game theory. Dennis Gabor invented the holographic method. Albert Szent-Györgyi discovered the effects of vitamin C. Bela Schick, the father of modern pediatrics, coined the term allergy. George Bekeshy won his prize for his work which enabled doctors to differentiate various forms of deafness. When man landed on the moon, he drove around in a vehicle designed by Ferenc Pavlich. And way before that, back here on Earth, we all got around in the Model T, designed by Joseph Gallum. And as we head further into the supersonic age, we look to the father of that era, Theodore von Karman, who developed the B-52 bomber and the Atlas, Titan, and Minuteman missiles. Just like all other Hungarians who became Americans, discovering new worlds from the culture of their old world, bringing soaring visions for America to meet the challenges of the future.